I am back and in full force talking about making life easier and choosing your hard. Since I became a property investing coach in Australia, I tell you what, I never realized how much people make their lives more difficult. And today, this is a more broader conversation. Today, this video is going to be a little bit spiritual, a little bit woo-woo. I'm going to talk about a little bit about human design. I'm going to talk about investing. I'm going to talk about a little bit about relationships. And I'm going to go through an actual list of where I've seen majority of people choose to do something harder, where I've chosen to do something easier in life. Because I just feel like life is a lot more simpler than what it needs to be, what a lot of people overcomplicate things. So I've made a list. I'm literally going to go through this list and I'm going to share it with you. I don't know why, I'm just getting a calling just to give examples of like how life can be easier because people overcomplicate shit. You can utilize this in any way. Like take this away as maybe there's a gold nugget in here. Maybe there's just like, oh, I just want to see what Olivia does with her life and how she moves around life a little bit differently. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully this can add some value to you in some way. Okay, so during the storm, the cyclone Alfred, so we just had the cyclone about to come, but then didn't come. That's a long story short for those people who are not in Queensland or not in Australia. But anyway, so we have this apparent cyclone coming. Now, what I notice is some people, there's a balance here, right? You can either become extremely fearful and plan as if the world's going to end, or you can not plan at all and be like, oh, energetics, it's okay. Let's not stress. Let's not plan. Let's not really pretend. We'll just take each day as it comes. For me, I'm just a really well-balanced person at creating peace in my life. And so something simple that I did that other people chose not to do was I went and bought myself a generator. Now, some people didn't have the financial means to do that. That's a different topic. I'm talking about people who were like, nah, let's just like not get a generator. She'll be right. And I'm like, well, a generator can really help save your day and make your days easier if something was to occur. And so to me, it just made common sense. Just get it to make your life easier if you don't have power, because losing power sucks balls for days on end. And a lot of people cop that. And then other people act too much out of fear and then they can't sleep at night. I'm not talking about that either. I'm just saying just a little bit of planning. That's all. I chose to eat 2-minute noodles for a few years in my 20s. Actually, specifically, I ate mee goreng with a scoop of peanut butter. Makes it. The amount of people, I chose to do that because I knew that if I just sacrificed for 3 to 5 years of my life, living like a scum, living in cheap properties, catching the bus to work, all of this sort of stuff, I just knew, to me it made common sense, if I just sacrificed 3 to 5 years of my life and not trying to look rich and not trying to drive around nice cars, I knew that that would set me up for the next 30 years. And by golly gum, like that has literally changed my life. Those 3 to 5 years has absolutely set me up for the next 30 years. To the point where I won't ever need to do anything else than what I've already built to look after my family. Now, anything else that's like 15 years away from now. Anything else I now build is going to just create such an abundant life for me. Now, the amount of people that choose to say, oh, I'm going to not invest and not sacrifice for 3 to 5 years, but I'm just going to accept working every day until I'm 70. Ew, like that's just harder. Like it just makes common sense to me. Sacrifice for 3 to 5 years so that you actually don't have to work for the next 40 or 50 years. That's something that I chose to do earlier on. I chose not to live in my home that I own. I choose to be a rent investor. Do you know the amount of people that fucking struggle every day because the idea of them thinking that they need to control the walls that they live in? And now you can turn around and say, oh, it's easy enough said than done, Olivia, because you don't have kids and you don't need kids to be in certain postcodes to go to certain schools. Like, guys, if you think there is something that you need in order to live in a particular house, I've got literally free training. Comment below rent investing and I'll send you a video on how to get around all of the problems that you think occur being a renter. All those problems that you think can occur, I've literally got a way on how to get around all of them. So comment below, I'll send you my free training on that. And so even during the storm and during that cyclone, I realized that again, I was like, it'd be so much more challenging if I'd owned this home. And by the way, the house that I'm renting, by the way, in a space of 24, 48 hours, We've got 5 leaks in our house, and it's a brand new house. We are the first to live in it. It's only 12 months old since it's been built. And there are 5 leaks in this house. 2 to 3 of them are extremely major. The ceiling's collapsing in, just to let you know. And I think, well, shit, if I owned this house, the amount of problems that I would then have to pay for is wild. It is so many problems that if I didn't own this house, which I don't, and if those things occurred in other houses that I don't live in because they're investment properties, they're all tax deductible, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's another thing that I just choose to have life much easier so I don't have to deal with the drama of paying for these things. Next one was, choosing my dog breed. The amount of people, I love my baby girls, my 2 little fluffies. Now, I have toy cavoodles. I specifically chose a dog breed that matches me, my lifestyle. The amount of people that have gone out there and chosen breeds that do not match their lifestyle at all, that are just harder breeds to look after, that require more attention, whether it be their hair that they're losing so they have to vacuum their house a lot more, or whether it's the attention that they need because they need to be outside or on a farm or run more, or they can't be around certain children, but yet they're planning on having children. I'm like, guys, choose something that's easier to deal with. Or people that choose a dog breed that's got extreme medical problems and then they don't factor that into their lifestyle either. For example, I'll never forget, my partner, my now wife, was absolutely obsessed with sausage dogs. We were so close to getting a sausage dog because they're cute and they're funny looking, and she's just been obsessed with them. She still is her favorite breed, but not a breed that we would like to personally have and withstand all the medical problems that come along with, and the anxiety that come along with owning sausage dogs or dachshunds. Just constantly feeling anxious about, oh my God, they can't jump up on the bed or the couch because they might break their back. All right, another one. Okay, this is from my business owner clients. Let's get a little bit personal, but I'm happy to choose that. I have chosen a business for lifestyle with a 96% profit margin. Do you know the amount of friends that I have out there that are scaling companies and multiple companies that have overheads where they can't sleep at night because they've chosen to have a business that has extreme amount of overheads and staff? That blows my mind. I'm just like, what are you doing this for? You're doing this for lifestyle? You're doing it for cash flow? Are you doing this to make an impact? Or are you doing this for profit margins in order to sell later on? Like, if you had to choose one of those, so this is for the business owners, if you have a business and you had to choose one of those 4 pillars, you could only choose one of those as your business purpose, how would you be moving the needle differently? Because the needle should be moved differently inside your business in order to grow it to reach one of those 4. So for me personally, I chose something that gives me lifestyle. And the reason why is so that I can feel really, really calm being a property coach when I'm delivering results to my clients and I'm coaching them. That's the main reason being. And the other thing is so that I can think clearly because my brain deserves and is required to be on big thinking ideas that will end up giving me something bigger and greater that I'll end up designing one day into the future. So I need time abundance. Okay, so again, that one is around deciding on your business purpose and deciding on which type of business that you're actually going to choose to make money and how you're going to go about scaling it. And so if you think about those 4 different pillars, it just makes it easier for you to think about how you're going to scale it and making it easier for yourself. Like, do you know the amount of business owners out there that just instantly think, oh, I've got this task, I'm going to hire someone to do it? Ew. Do you know that's the number one thing that people complain about in business? Is staff? No fucking thank you. First thing I'm going to think of is automation and AI to take over my manual tasks. So just about every week, I'm working with my automation and AI guy to either automate a task or bring in AI to again automate that in some way. And that's just a constant thing that we'll constantly be working on because there's always going to be growth inside a business. Okay, next one. I don't think I've ever said this publicly. You ready? Fast tracking your weight loss by having surgery. I was a really, really big girl and I had suffered from extreme mental challenges through my weight loss journey. I was known as the fatty for basically my whole entire life. And 3 years ago, I decided to cut my stomach out. I'm not shitting you. The way that I looked at it was you could either slog at the gym and go through all the mental hurdles to get the results, or, which I'd already struggled with. I'd already struggled with my weight loss for over 10 years. I decided to say, no more fucking struggling. There's a fast track option. I can have this surgery, which would stop me from overeating because of the mental challenges that I battle with every fucking day. And there's something that can solve that solution straight away. Now, I heard this from a researcher. So if you're triggered by this because you're a healthy person, have a listen to this. In the Bible, now I'm not a religious person. I don't know much about the Bible. I just heard this from someone. In the Bible, it states that if you were to do something naughty, you would be forgiven of your sins if you were to go through pain to undo it. So us humans are conditioned to say it's bad to take the fast track option because you were naughty to have gotten fat in the first place, that you are only forgiven if you go through the pain and the struggle in order to lose the weight. But yet it's deemed as still sinful because you took a fast track option rather than undoing the naughty thing that you did, which is get fat in the first place. Which, by the way, I was fat from the age of 8 through extreme childhood trauma. Now, that's not an excuse, but I was like, hang on a second. Do I want to struggle and continue to struggle in order to try and get through the mental battle of my stomach already being blown up? That now the struggle of literally putting your stomach and your brain through starvation, because that's what it feels like because I'd already stretched it so much over 20 years of my life. Or do I just want to go and have this surgery, which I'll be healed within 6 weeks, and then those mental battles go away? And guess what? It changed my life. It literally changed my entire life. Every single category in my life, my relationships with friends, my business, my relationship with my partner, my relationship with myself and my self-worth went through the roof. So if you're somebody that's overweight and watching this, here's your permission slip to say, it's okay to take the fast track option. And just to let you know, also it's not really that fast track because all of your demons and your thoughts of all of your triggers and shit that you have about it will be surfaced. You'll just be forced to deal with it much, much more quicker. Anyway, that's the first time I've talked about my weight loss surgery publicly, I think. Pretty sure I haven't spoken about it publicly. All my friends and family know about it. Next one. Oh, this is a big one. So I'm in the property industry. I choose to understand how to use data to research loopholes in the property investing world as opposed to renovating property. Do you know the amount of people that are like, oh, I'm going to buy a house, use this sweat equity to renovate property and keep flipping them? I think that's just a fucking nightmare. The amount of people that convince me to say, yeah, we love renovating. I'm like, how many renovations you done? And they're like, 0. Or we really want to flip properties. I'm like, okay, how many of those have you done before? The amount of people that tell me that they love real estate and they want to flip houses, I'm like, bullshit. Most people do not. Go and do 2 renovations over a 2-year period and tell me what your lifestyle is like after that. And if your relationship was able to stay afloat and how much you were able to be present with your kids, all of that sort of stuff. Like, people just don't think about that stuff. I would rather spend a quarter of that time researching all of these loopholes that I've now understood and now my clients now pay me because it took me 8 years to learn that stuff. I'd rather do that on a computer or from my phone. That's way easier. That way I can still be present with my partner and the kids and my life and still have lifestyle whilst I build wealth in the background. Choose your heart. You want to renovate or you just want to look at data and research and understand or pay someone to find a property for you in the top 1% suburbs so you can just make money whilst you sleep. Next one. Oh, this is another one. Again, this is just a values. Maybe you can turn around and say, oh, she has weight loss problems. She has fatty problems anyway. You know what? Fuck it. Eating a well-balanced diet. Now, this is just something that I've seen, that I have observed. Now, I have a lot of friends in the health and wellness space that where I see them struggling every single day. And now I'm not a health person or a guru, but I just see people struggle every single day, pushing shit uphill, trying to eat food and reduce the chemicals in their lifestyle, where they are literally missing out on living because of the amount of time and effort and stress that they put into trying to remove things such as chemicals in their lifestyle, where it's all around us and you can't get around all of it. Just for context, I am a person that believes the system's coming out after us. They want us to be unhealthier. They want us to be poorer, all of that sort of shit. Yes, that is true. They're coming after us in that way. But I also see people missing out on living because they're so riddled with anxiety about having such a stringent lifestyle. Now I'm talking about extremes here, and I do believe that you need to compare extremes in order for this reflection to make sense. So I'm talking about extremes here, right? I'm just talking about just have a bit of a balance, 80-20. Even though I was a fatty, I still have always had a well-balanced diet. So yeah, 80% of my lifestyle is reducing things like I'm always making sure that I have a very, very high protein diet. I reduce the amount of gluten that I'm consuming, and I reduce the amount of chemical products in my household that I consume. Now, my partner is a lot more extreme than me. So also this is obviously a projection of what is in my lifestyle as well. But I just think there's so many people out there that choose to be so stringent that they miss out on some cool, fun things about life. All right, next one. Oh, okay. Choosing to live in a location with convenience. Now, this again has popped up from a couple of different areas. One, I have heaps of friends and family that choose to live out in the middle of nowhere, and their life is more challenging for them because they choose to live outwards, but they don't have access to a lot of amenities and convenience. Again, I choose to have a balance where I can have larger land so I can have some privacy, but at the same time be in a location where I have access to the amazing amenities that allow me to live my life. I'm going to tell you a little story as well. Actually, I'm going to use a time thing. This is how you expand your life. I want to share you. Do you remember when you were younger, how the days felt longer? And the older we get now, it seems like the days and the weeks and the months and the years are shorter. And we're like, hang on a second, that year felt much shorter than the previous year. The reason being is because our brains skip monotonous tasks or repetitive tasks or repetitive things that it remembers. So if you're driving from here to the local grocery store and your brain starts to remember it robotically, our brains will skip that time. So because when we're younger, our brains are like so alert and alive because everything is new for the first time. It means that time seems longer. So that's correct. A way that you can expand your time is by simply shifting your life into a way where you're constantly doing new things that your brain has never done before or experienced before. How cool. That's why people who are traveling to new countries, they are more likely to have their life feel like it's longer because they're constantly being opened to new things. Now, I'm not a huge, big international traveler. I do want to get there one day. Do I? Actually, you know what? Probably I don't, because the things that you truly want are the things that you're already doing with your life. They are your values. So traveling internationally is clearly not a high value of mine because it's not something that I do regularly. Anyway, what I do to experience more life is I try new adventures and things inside Australia that I might not have done much. So for example, in my early 20s, I set a challenge of how to achieve 30 things before I'm 30. And one of those things that I wanted to tick off was how do I complete everything on adrenaline.com? And I finished everything but 2 things, because those 2 things, one I couldn't afford when I was really younger, and the second thing was boring. It was a hot air balloon. I'm like, that's not really adrenaline to me. Anyway, and I wanted to wait for that, to do that as a romantic thing with a partner that I didn't have back then, that I've now done with my partner, with my wife. Okay, so expanding your life is a way you can do that by implementing new things in your life that your brain has never experienced before. How cool. So by the way, what I was going to say, another thing that I do to expand my life is by living in different suburbs. So I like to try out not just a completely different suburb, but a completely new location. So even when I was living in Melbourne, I lived in 3 very, 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 very different parts of Melbourne over my first probably 25 years of my life. So that helped me adapt to new areas. You got to know different cafes, you got to know different restaurants, got to know different roads, got to know different train stations because I lived on the train for like 12 years. So that was really, really cool. I also did a lot of house sitting for free, so that got me around so I could, again, get to know different suburbs. Did house sitting back to back for 5 or 6 years or so. That was cool. Now, me and my partner like to move house probably every 2 or 3 years or so, just to adapt to different lifestyles. Okay, and then once we get to understand the new roads, new restaurants and cafes, we're like, okay, let's move on now. All right, next one. Minimal insurance. This might sound a little bit interesting to most people, but having a well-balanced insurance to back you up. Again, something that is going to help you sleep at night, but not something that's going to be on one end of the scale where you're like living in fear, where you need to over-insure your life because you think everything's going to go wrong. but also ensuring your life to make sure that you actually can sleep well at night as well. There are some people who just don't have insurance at all that absolutely need insurance for certain things. I won't go into that because I don't want to give you financial advice. Next one. Some of these also might be really, really common sense to you, that you might be listening to this and thinking, that just sounds like common sense. I'm not joking you. So many things that I think are common sense since being a property coach, and I listen to people, I'm like, oh fuck, they don't think that this shit's common sense. Like, it's actually not common sense to a lot of people. Anyway, and I've spoken to thousands of people, by the way, since being a property coach when it comes to wealth building and building wealth in these. Next one, I choose to outsource my home duties or tasks straight away. Oh, this is a huge one. Do you know the amount of people who sit there and still decide to clean their shower when they hate doing it? And their wage, so your wage could be, for example, $40 an hour, but you could outsource having your shower cleaned, or the whole house, or the things that you hate cleaning inside your house could be outsourced for $25 an hour. You need to start thinking about outsourcing the things that don't bring you joy, that are also things that are clearly less than what you earn. So I have a rule of thumb. Anything that I can outsource, whether it be home duties at home or things inside my business, first thing I think of is, how can automation or AI solve for this problem? Do you know the amount of things that even your personal life things that could be automated? Like your calendar, right? There's fucking AI tools out there at the moment that could automate that. Rule of thumb for me is anything that costs less than my hourly wage and that I really dislike doing and or that my partner hates doing, outsource it straight away. Now, there might be something in your life that you could pay that is less for the hourly wage to outsource than your hourly wage, but it might actually be something that you truly, truly enjoy doing. I'll give you an example. I have a full-time gardener that comes out and cuts my grass, cuts the grass, sprays it to make sure there's no weeds, and does all the hedging and all of that sort of stuff. I fucking hate cutting the grass, but I love having elite grass. But the one thing I won't outsource doing is actually maintaining my plants. I love being in my garden and maintaining my plants. It's so therapeutic and I really enjoy doing it. And yes, I could outsource it for something that's literally a drop in the ocean to compare to my hourly wage, but that's something that brings me joy, so I'm going to continue to do that. So I would just reconsider if there's something that you absolutely aspire and do not like doing, and it creates a lot of friction. I'll give you an example. Me and my wife used to fight about who's going to clean the shower because I absolutely hated doing it. My wife did not want me to outsource it because she's like, no, I can do it. And I'm like, but then you don't do it. And then we sit there and argue about it every fortnight. We're like, have you done the shower? Have you done the shower? Finally, she agreed and just like, okay, we'll just outsource. I'm like, thank you. See, relationship is now easier as well because that's one less thing that we bloody nag each other about, right? Choose your hard. I choose to work on personal development rather than sitting in my own shit for another year. The amount of people that I see on a daily basis that choose to still sit in their same repetitive bullshit in their life, and all they could have done was dive deeper into the pain of the depths of where the trauma or the triggers come from. Every single trigger or pain or trauma that I've moved through, my life gets so much easier as soon as I dive deeper. But I allow this spaciousness and I allow to get into my courage codes so that I can move through that real annoying thing in my life so that my life can then expand. I'll give you an example. It's the same thing that happened with my weight loss surgery story. You know the amount of people that put their own judgment on me for having that weight loss surgery where they cut out my stomach. Instead, I decided to work on, well, what would happen if I removed all judgment of other people's judgment? When you are fearful of other people's judgment, it's actually because you're judging it. Oof, does that hurt to hear? Your fear of somebody judging you on something is actually because you judged that thing. So if you just let that go, and I let that go. I used to judge people and say, oh, how dare they just like have weight loss surgery? Oh, that's just, and I was like, hang on a second, that's fucking smart. I'm going to take the fast track option. So I removed the judgment from myself, but I actually had to step into the courage of now diving deeper into all of my traumas, limiting belief systems. And I've been doing this for years and years and years. And yes, you start off small and it gets easier and it gets easier and it gets easier. Now my life is way easier because I choose to move through a limiting belief of some sort. I choose to be like, you know what, where does that story come from? Where does that real intense pain come from? So the way that I do this, by the way, and the way that it's so much easier for me is I choose to lean on a process called kinesiology. So there are professional kinesiologists out there, which are way better than psychologists, in my personal opinion. Non-health advice, but that's something that I choose to dive into. And again, every kinesiologist is different out there. They're not all the same. Just like not all brokers are the same, just like not all cafes are the same or restaurants are the same. So I would highly recommend if you're curious to working on yourself and moving through your bullshit to make your life easier and get better results, kinesiology is the number one thing that has completely changed my life and also my wife's life as well. And I've been doing kinesiology now for about 6 or 7 years, which has been cool. And then you have bigger jumps in terms of your personal growth as well. So I choose to do personal growth and taking the courage to grow personally rather than just continuing to be in the same position that I'm in a year later. And I've got a lot of friends who I love dearly who are in the same limiting belief position in their life. And I love them, but their life is just harder because they won't choose to work on themselves. Okay, next one. Oh, I love this one. Okay, accepting the matrix that we live in. I choose to pay taxes now, really understanding that it's fucked and it's a scam. I get it, but it's a short-term thing that I'm having to do now so that I can then, in the long term, pay nothing in taxes legally. There is an absolute way. And again, this is something I cover off as a one-on-one property coach. Is how do you pay nothing in taxes legally? But first, you have to accept the system that you're in. If you're somebody who's just like, oh my God, the system's fucked up, it's one big lie, blah, 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 I'm choosing not to pay taxes. I'm like, okay, but then how much wealth are you missing out on not making because you're not paying taxes, so therefore you're not able to leverage money and compound your money with the bank's money. I know the system's fucked. I know. If you haven't watched The Matrix, I would highly recommend really, really, really watching it and be extremely conscious when you watch it. Anyway, so a lot of people come to me who are slogging it away in their business, choosing to be active in their business, and they're going to stay swapping their time for money inside business because it is most likely their ego is too big or they're too arrogant, most people, to say, you know what, in the short term, I'm just going to pay the government taxes for the next 5 to 10 years so that the next 30 to 40 years thereafter, then I don't have to pay taxes legally. There's literally a way around it. Again, if you want my help on that, non-tax advice, but there are absolutely ways around it that the wealthy know and that I implement. Number 16, people who choose hard businesses. This also blows my mind. Do you know the amount of people who at the moment, and I help a lot of people with this as well. I'm also a bit of a business coach on the side. A lot of people are looking for ways to escape the system, whether it be making more money or having more lifestyle options. A lot of people who are thinking of businesses instantly go to businesses that are just bloody hard. For example, a business that is really hard and low profit margins like cafes and restaurants and that sort of stuff. I'm like, why do you want to do that? Like literally, why do you? And then I would really go deep into thinking, okay, if this is a passion and you're so passionate, great. But do you actually understand the effort that it takes to require to build a business like that? Again, I'm somebody who's chosen to build a business that gives me lifestyle options. That means that I can be with my partner, be with my dogs, be in the garden, whilst at the same time as serving my clients. Now, yes, you could turn around and just say, well, I've got a business that is so easy because I went through a shitload of pain and now I'm able to help people through that and charge money for that, for a thing that people absolutely desire and want a lot of, but it's really hard to acquire, so therefore it's easy for me to do. And I can do it all over Australia. In saying this, there are just people who out there at the moment, from my observations, there are people who are trying to look to exit the status quo, and they instantly go to businesses that are just harder than what that needs to be. And this day and age, it's so easy to find businesses online. Now, I do think that building businesses is literally one of the most challenging things, and stats do prove it, is that factually, less than 1% of businesses can survive past 5 years. So yes, it is absolutely challenging to be a business owner and be successful for more than 5 years and have that company running for more than 5 years. Yes, that is factually true. I do believe, though, with the resources that we have today, and if you work on your personal development and growth, that you can get out of your own way and hire certain coaches, that is absolutely one of the easiest things to then actually adapt to, I personally believe, once you understand some basic skills. Anyway, that one is just an observation of me. Yeah, me just seeing people don't think about, they rush into too easy. They rush too easily into thinking, oh, I'm going to do that business because I have a bit of a skill or a passion in it. And then, but actually it's a fucking slog of a business. And actually from a business perspective, it's a shit idea. And then they end up just swapping their time for money more. And yeah, anyway, there's a lot more ways that that people don't think about, where you could do a little bit of your passion and get a bit of a taste for that. And then also design a business, though, around something that's way easier. Next one. Oh, okay, this is a big one. Investors who choose to own 100 properties plus is shit. There are a few mentors that I originally looked up to into the property industry that I have watched them, and they're quite famous for this and across Australia, who have gotten, one guy's at 100 properties, another guy, my original mentor, he's got 200, he had at one point 250 properties by the age of 33 or 35. He had 70 properties by the age of 27, right? Now, I can tell you right now, from somebody who has one of the largest property portfolios in Australia, I'm in the top 1%, I can tell you right now, there is no fucking way that I'm going to want to own. I just don't see it for me right now that I'm going to want to own any more than 20 properties. In fact, I think it's going to be less, because it does get to a point where a portfolio is so much more challenging to manage, and you have to start then hiring people to actually just respond to property managers. You then have to start hiring people just to do more people to do your tax returns and to manage maintenance and all of this other stuff. And I'm like, hang on a second, it really starts to become a business that is no longer profitable. What I would do rather is, by the way, property investing, non-financial advice, is the number one easiest way to build your wealth and to build capital in Australia. It is factually one of the best risk-adjusted to safest things to do in Australia. That is residential real estate investing. There is nothing else that can fucking beat it. Try me. Anyway, don't try me. I can't be bothered. I used to do that years ago. If you love real estate, then reach out to me. If you don't, go away. So anyway, profit margins. Your profit margins start to deplete and become less and less and less the more properties you'll end up owning. So what I would rather do, and now, yes, there is a balance, because we need to be able to build a property portfolio around different storms and have diversification wherever we are. So I'm a big advocate of having location diversification, owning in multiple suburbs, multiple states, and also having diversification with your income streams. So I'm not sitting here talking about me building a property portfolio and then only having my income streams come from 2 properties. No fucking way. That's not diversified enough. And again, it's going to come down to how much wealth you want. So this is something that I work on with every single client individually. So some people might only need, so you can have $200,000 of passive income coming from 20 properties, but you can also have $200,000 of passive income come from 1 property, right? Are you somebody that's going to want a 20 property portfolio? Most people can't be fucked managing that. And also, do you only want that one income coming from 1 property? That's probably not diversified for most people. It's definitely not for me. But where is that sweet spot? So me and my team work on that sweet spot of where that is for most people. By the way, most people, as a very generic term, most people who want $150,000 of passive income, who earn $100,000 per year, will typically reach $150,000 of passive income roughly over a 15-year period, and roughly that is somewhere between 6 to 8 properties. That is extremely, now I've seen over 350 portfolio planners built, by the way, for individuals inside that price range. So non-financial advice, reach out to me if you want to help on building a property portfolio. If you need to understand how many properties it is, how long it's going to take, what should that property amount actually be for you. So for example, my team built a portfolio planner for a client where it ended up being, I think it was $300,000 of passive income that they were going to reach over a 15-year window, but that was only ending up with 3 properties at the end. And then I worked with the client. I'm like, hang on a second, is 3 properties enough for you? Like, is that too little to only having 3 income streams? And is that diversified enough across Australia? Personally, that's not enough for me. So I talked about that with them. And so we increased that a little bit. I think we went to 5 or 6 properties. I can't remember. And that felt much more comfortable for them, a little bit more diversified. It was going to take a little bit longer to get there, but that's okay. They were happy to have it more diversified for risk tolerances purposes. So for your sleep at night factor. Anyway, food for thought. So what I'm saying is I look to these original mentors and I'm like, ew, 250 properties? I want to fucking vomit. But people do that. And if you look at these guys, they're doing it because the perception of how much more successful it makes them look like. But actually, I know what that property portfolio is made up of because I've been following them for 9-10 years and I've watched every goddamn video that they've ever produced in their life. And I know what majority of their portfolio is made up of. And it's made up of a whole bunch of fucking units that are run down, that are causing maintenance problems left, right, and center, that then they have to then pay wages for people to look after that. And I think, okay, imagine if you didn't have those and you can consolidate it a little bit more, you'd probably end up being a lot more profitable. And also, your life wouldn't be as active and you wouldn't have to manage those people and check in with them. Choose your heart. Next one is about the same people, but this time it's similar. Instead of property, it's about business. Again, I have an old mentor who's no longer a mentor that I look up to anymore. He owns over 17 businesses. This guy doesn't have a life, by the way. It's the same guy that owns 250 properties. I know he also owns 17 businesses. That was from about 17 businesses was from about 3 or 5 years ago. So he may have more, or he may have consolidated since then. But I knew when I was quite young following this guy, I was like, ew. You have so many staff that he would have to manage across those businesses. Now, I was also a consumer or a client of a lot of those businesses. I had actually reached out to 4 or 5 of those companies. I can't remember exactly, 4 or 5 of them. And I was a customer of 4 or 5 of his different companies. And all of them were the most horrible customer service because he has his finger in too many pies. So he wasn't able to keep the pulse on a whole bunch of these businesses. They were so shit. His reviews were shit. And I was like, but I originally went to wanting to use them because I looked up to him and I pedestaled him and I thought that he was amazing. But just because somebody is really cool to learn from doesn't mean that their businesses that they're running, can produce goods for you and that are a great value of service, because they just weren't. Now, I'm still consistently till today using one of those companies' service, which is their property management company. So yes, his property management company is managing one of my properties. It's pretty shit. You know what? Actually, what's a little bit slightly above average? In saying that though, all of the other companies were absolutely horrible and not worth it. So I pulled out. So again, the amount of profit margin that you would be making inside of those companies, I would say that if he was to, again, consolidate and get 17 of those companies and just focus his energy on the top 3 or 4 businesses, which I look at every day and I'm like, oh my God, this is so horrible. This could be improved by this, and this. If he just repivoted some of his focus and consolidated maybe 17 of those businesses into the top 3 or 5, I am so sure of it that his profit margins and his wealth would be worth so much more. And also again, he would not have to spend as much effort on managing the staff and so those other ones that just aren't performing that well. Next one. I don't know if I should mention this one. You're either going to love me or hate me after this. You ready? If you are somebody who is an Andrew Tate lover, where your belief system, and by the way, I am a person who actually likes some of what Andrew Tate talks about. Now, you might be a person thinking, who the fuck is Andrew Tate? Do a couple of researches. He was a guy that became one of the people that became extremely famous very, very quickly during the windows of about 2021, I think, or 2022 up to 2024. Anyway, so he has extreme views. I personally align to his global monetary views about the system. There are a lot of other stuff that I don't align to, just to let you know. So I'm not like that person who's like, yeah, I believe in everything that he says. Now, maybe your belief system is like what Andrew Tate would say, is that, well, as the masculine, we shouldn't be doing things that are easier. Life should be hard for the masculine role. I think a lot about this as well. For me personally, it's just a different type of hard. There is either slogging at it, swapping your time for money, or a different hard that I choose is to think of hard concepts and to push through those things and come up with different ideas. And again, this comes down to the personal development as well. So there are some men out there who who are clients of mine, who their belief system is that they should be working a 9-to-5 job. I literally had one client 2 days ago who came to me. The wife was like, I'm like, what do you think is stopping you from right now? And she's literally said, my husband's belief system is that he shouldn't try and replace his time for money. That like his belief system is that he should be having a 9-to-5 job and he should be working every day. I believe that you should be consistently, that is my belief system again, not putting that on you. I believe that we are designed to want to create money and improve our life. Absolutely. But I also believe in not capping yourself at a 9-to-5 job where it has a ceiling and you're capped at the amount of wealth, impact that you can make is going to be capped at a 9-to-5 job. And so I'm just saying that it's a different hard. So I would personally rather focus on making harder decisions, pushing through limiting beliefs or traumas or anything like that. Again, this is kind of me repeating a few points back around personal development. But again, choose your hard. Do you want to be sitting there swapping your time for money? Or like, for example, being a tradie where your body is going through pain and it's going to have limits at one point in your life? Or would you rather collapse time now, figure out how to hustle more now whilst you're younger so that you can do less when you're older? That's just kind of common sense to me. But again, a lot of people have that limiting belief around consistently that life needs, that it should be hard. Growth absolutely comes through moving through pain. That I'm not denying, and that I'm not saying to remove pain. I'm just saying there's certain levels of pain where people put it into an avenue where it's limited, where you're limited in how much you can expand and grow by. And this is going to be my last one, and this one's just for some shits and giggles. Until somebody giggles and shits. Ah! That's one of my favorite memes that one of my friends found for me years ago. Anyway, so the very last one is not accepting a professional's suggestion on doing things the longer way. I'll give you an example. I recently had my dentist. I'm going to talk about my teeth. I said to my dentist, I want my teeth whiter, right? Actually, I went to her with a solution first as opposed to giving her the outcome that I wanted. That's a tip also as an investor. When you're going and using experts, I highly recommend presenting to them the outcome that you want at the end and allow them to come up with a solution. But in this instance, I did not take my own advice. I went to my dentist and I said, can I please get these white cappings on my teeth? It doesn't hurt. It costs a lot of money. And it was something that I wanted to essentially just whiten my teeth up a little bit more and get rid of some dents that I had in my teeth, right? Little chips along my teeth, fix it all up. And she's like, what do you want? So now she's asking me for the end result. And I said, I just want whiter teeth. You know, I'm on camera every day. I look at my teeth. They're fucking pissing me off and they're distracting me. Let's do that. Anyway, so then she turns around and gives me a different solution. She's like, well, how about we actually try the whitening thing that's not as permanent? And by the way, the things that I was asking for, it's not permanent. It can be removed. Anyway, so she goes, let's try this whitening thing, which is proper whitening by a dentist. Anyway, ordered all the stuff. In order to do that, it was 8 hours of whitening every day. I have to have this thing in my mouth for 8 hours a day for 3 whole weeks. I tried it for a couple of days and fuck me, it bloody hurt. It was so painful on having the bleach on my teeth. And I was like, this is fucking shit. I'm not going to put up with this. This is going to literally distract me from my entire business for 3 weeks. I can't handle it. It was either sleep with it at nighttime and it was distracting my sleep and it was so painful, and or it was having it during the day, which is just going to distract my business either way. And I was like, either way, it's distracting me. I can't withstand this 3 weeks. I have not planned for this. So now I'm going back to the dentist. I'm going to be like, I don't want to do that option. I want the fast track option. Again, let's just go back to doing the capping, my idea. So that one's a fun one for you. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. I would love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Let me know. Put into the comment box. Just comment things that you thought were interesting. If you learned anything, if you were like, had any aha moments, it'd be cool to know. Anyway, that was one of my ramble videos. Have an elite day. Oh, and don't forget to choose to build wealth with ease.